We're back with this edition of Cardinal Clips with prolific young adult author Pete Hautman. Pete, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're really glad to have you here. You've written over 20 books. I know you have a new one coming out. And you spent the day here at Prairie Lakes. How did you find your day?
It's been a great day. I mean, the kids here are great. They're really curious. They got a lot of questions, a lot of good questions, a lot of sophisticated questions. And they seem to be very interested in, what my life as an author is like and in the books. It really helps that they'd read the books before I came here because, these books don't answer a lot of questions, and so they did their best to pry those answers out of me. So it was a great day.
So what kind of questions didn't your books answer?
Well, I've never been a believer in providing pat answers in my books. Even when I was a kid, I never liked a book that said, and this is the way it is, and this is good, and this is bad. I liked books that explored questions and showed different sides and different arguments. In Godless, for example, it's about a kid that starts his own religion, but it's mostly about what is the role of religion, how can it be used to do good, when can it be misused, what's our responsibility when we're, using religions as a way to connect with people, to control people, to improve ourselves, etc. And I didn't really want to end the book saying, and so this is the right religion, and so there is a God or there isn't a God, and so this is the way you should behave. Other people write books like that. They have their purpose. I occasionally enjoy reading them, but they're not the kind of books that I write. I like to leave it open. I like to give teenagers a lot of credit for figuring things out because, teenagers almost by definition do a lot of boneheaded things. But what we kind of forget is that they still are smarter than we are. They're just lacking information and experience. But they've got the mental power to figure almost anything out. And so I said, why should I figure it out for them?
So one of the books that you talked about today with our students was Godless, where teenagers started their own religion, worshipped a water tower.
Yeah, they worship a water tower. When I set out to write this book, I wanted to write about the power of religion, but I didn't want to write about an existing religion. I didn't want to exclude anybody. I didn't want to be promoting any particular point of view. So I wanted to choose an object that would serve that purpose symbolically, but that wouldn't offend anyone in particular. And so I thought a water tower was just funny enough so that people could kind of set their own religious beliefs aside for a moment to look at the question of, what is religion about in general. But just funny and just, serious enough because the water tower is a big, imposing thing. You see that on the cover of the book. It's kind of a dominating image, and so to kind of reflect the serious side of it. At one time I considered having them worship a fire hydrant, but that was just all funny and no serious, and that was no good.
So if I remember right now, you had a commandment about asparagus?
Yeah.
You want to...
That was,
I kind of support that one, by the way.
well, it was, thou shalt not eat asparagus, and I was just trying to think of something goofy and funny that, some significant percentage of kids would agree with. I happen to love asparagus, if it's not overcooked.
Well, I kind of like the anti-asparagus commandments. So it sounds to be like maybe there's not it's not formulaic writing for you. Good kid goes bad, finds a cure or finds a solution, and then goes good.
Right. Formulaic writing is something that, as a reader, I sometimes enjoy it. I like reading murder mysteries. I like reading, science fiction where the alien is defeated by the good guys. I like lots of different kinds of formulaic fiction. I do not enjoy writing it, however. I like the books to surprise me and the reader. So I try, if I went from Godless to writing a book called Invisible, which is very different from Godless. I'm working on a science fiction trilogy now. I wrote a Western recently and a love story. And it's my way of keeping it alive and keeping it real for myself and I hope for my audience as well.
Pete, Godless was a National Book Award winner. How'd that make you feel?
It was kind of a surprise to the people around me. When I was nominated, I was astonished because, for one thing, I didn't even know there was a National Book Award for young people's literature. There didn't used to be. And I was nominated with 4 other writers, and I was a mess. I mean, I couldn't really think about anything else. I was worried about it. I didn't know if my book would win or not. And as it got closer and closer to the date of the awards, the nominees are announced about a month before, I became, as my partner Mary said, less and less communicative until when it finally got to the banquet, we're there and I'm wearing my tuxedo and it's a big Academy Awards type deal, and we're sitting at the table and people would say things to me and I would just stare. I'd be like the character Putty on Seinfeld. My eyes would be fixed in some distant place. And all I could think about was, if I don't win, I have to behave properly. If I don't win, I have to congratulate the winner. I was just totally psyching myself. And then when they got up there and they're announcing the Young Adult Award and they said Godless by Pete Hautman, I was like, and it was like all the tension went out of me. I wasn't excited. It was like, oh, this is the way life is supposed to be. You're supposed to win. And I got up and I went and I did my acceptance speech totally calm. And I went back and I got the award and my people are slapping me on the back and they go, aren't you excited? Aren't you excited? I said, no, I'm not excited. I said, I've been like a complete wreck for the last 4 weeks. Now I feel right. Now I feel good.
It's got to be one of the highlights of your career to win that award.
It's right up there for sure. I mean, it was unexpected. The nomination certainly was unexpected, and it pumped my book sales up quite a bit because people became aware of my other books. I was not very well known at all. In fact, when Godless came out, the sales just did absolutely nothing. School libraries were afraid to order it. Because, and in fact, a lot of school libraries still won't have a book called Godless on their shelf, even though it's not an anti-religion book. And all of a sudden, people would read it because it has the big gold seal on the cover, and then they'd also become interested in my other work. And so, yeah, it was a huge thing.